Good, you're dressed to go out.
Well, of course, you said you'd pick me up, didn't you?
That's right. You promised to help me shop for my trousseau.
Right, and I'm ready. Why are you so surprised?
Well, under the circumstances, I was afraid you might cancel out.
Under what circumstances?
Your problem. Or isn't there a problem any longer? Are things all squared away with Luke and Robert?
If we may come to order, please. Let the record show that a special committee of the City Council is convened to hear argument regarding a permit for a gambling club proposed near the waterfront development project. Now, Mr. Brock, as the petitioner in this matter, are you ready to proceed?
Mr. Mayor, I would ask you to please indulge me for a few more minutes. I cannot proceed until my associate has arrived.
Mr. Mayor, we were not informed prior to this that Mr. Brock was to have an associate present at this hearing.
Nor was the council, Commissioner. If I may ask, Mr. Brock, who is your associate in this matter?
I think he'll be able to answer it himself, Mr. Mayor. Much better than me. He's arrived.
I'm sorry, Your Honor. My apologies to everyone.
Let the record show that Luke Spencer is joining Mr. Brock on behalf of the petition before this committee. Now we can proceed.
So that's about where things stand at the moment.
In other words, you really haven't resolved anything at all.
Not really. But I have decided one thing. I can't stop living just because my heart feels like a torn pocket.
I'm glad you've decided that, at least. When you talked to Luke, did he at least understand why things happened the way they did?
It's not an easy question to answer, Celia. As you know, Luke and I didn't even meet under what you would call ordinary circumstances. Far from it. I arranged that we would meet on the mountain. It was all part of the oil scam.
Yes, but Holly, that's ancient history.
That's just my point. It's not the past to Luke.
But he knows that you ended up loving him.
Yes, but because of our beginnings, he's never really trusted me. I don't know, maybe that's why he didn't come down from the mountain when he was ill.
Oh, I'm not sure I agree with that.
But look at it from his point of view. When he did come home, what did he find? Robert and I were married.
Well, I'm sure he understood why you had to marry Robert. I mean, with the threat of deportation and all.
Yes, Luke understood that part. But what he didn't understand, and probably he'll never understand, is that I accepted his death.
Well, so did everyone else.
Yes, but I not only married Robert, I found him warm and kind and loving. And I needed that. I wanted that so desperately.
It all comes out to the same thing, doesn't it?
Comes down to what?
The bedroom. How do you feel about Luke right now? Do you know?
Yes, I know. I love him. I'll always love him. But at the same time, I'm feeling angry and hurt.
Why?
Because he won't understand the pain I went through and my loyalty and affection for Robert.
I'm not sure any man ever could, really. So, what are you going to do? Have you thought about that?
Oh, constantly. All I know is I'm just totally confused about how I feel, what I should do. Things are so much up in the air, I couldn't possibly make a decision at the moment.
Things are up in the air?
Yes, Luke is staying with Tiffany. That makes me think that he's probably going to be staying for a while in Port Charles.
Probably.
And that means that sooner or later I'm just going to have to confront him with this.
Yes, yes, I'd say that's inevitable. What in the meantime?
I'm just going to have to keep on trying to sort out my feelings, I suppose.
Anything else?
I'm going to have to go on living, one day at a time.
Next, if I may remind the council committee that the casino we propose will be part of a first-class restaurant on the very site of the up-and-coming exposition.
Why do you feel that the location is relevant, Mr. Brock?
The location is very relevant because a restaurant that has gourmet dining and a gambling casino will attract a very sophisticated cosmopolitan crowd, particularly the rich international set.
I don't quite follow your train of thought.
My point is, sir, that Port Charles is not known internationally, It is not an international center. It's precisely the international people that we want for the exposition. We all agree on this. Therefore, in order for them to come, we need a magnet. My restaurant and casino will be that magnet. I thank you very much.
Is there anything further?
Yes.
Luke Spencer.
Your Honor, my colleague, Mr. Brock, and I would like to remind the committee that there will, of course, be taxes levied on the restaurant and on the profits of the casino. Money that will go, of course, directly into the city budget for education, health care, social services, money for the elderly, money for the poor, and I'm sure I don't need to remind you that the city sorely needs it.
I knew he'd bring that up.
Do you think these funds will be substantial?
Now, I think that's putting it mildly. May I make one more point?
The floor is yours.
We are not asking this committee to go against the wishes of the people of Port Charles in any way.
But, Mr. Spencer, that's exactly what you are asking. Why, there are many voters in my district alone who are definitely opposed to gambling.
Yes, and they should be heard. And that's why we're asking for a permit to allow gambling only during the duration of the exposition. At the end of that time, we suggest a referendum in the election so the voters may decide themselves.
Well, thank you for a very strong and attractive argument. Mr. Commissioner.
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you wish to say anything in opposition to what we've just heard?
I certainly do. Mr. Mayor, members of the special committee, I intend to say plenty.
Take a look at this. Could you die?
Oh, Mary, you're a genius. It's absolutely perfect. I don't even... You need to try it on. Put it on the pile. Holly, isn't it gorgeous?
Yes, it's beautiful, Celia. And if you think that's a knockout, just wait. I've got some new things in the back that will make you swoon. Excuse me.
Uh-huh. Holly, are you sure you want to go through with this? I mean, I know it's very hard to get into the spirit of it.
Oh, it's good for me, really. It keeps my mind off my problems.
I could say the same thing.
Oh?
Yes, I mean Jimmy Lee. Oh, no, don't misunderstand me. I know I was just plain stupid to chase after him when I have such a warm, wonderful man as Grant.
I think I hear a but coming.
I get such a certain feeling whenever I think about Jimmy Lee. He is quite a man.
He's very attractive.
Very. But I will not let anyone jeopardize what I have with Grant. Not Jimmy Lee, not anyone.
Well, good. If you've solved that dilemma, I'm glad for you. I'm happy for you.
Yes, I'm happy too, darn it. I wish you were, though. I can't even get you to smile. You sure you don't want to stop this? I can shop any day.
Oh, no, really.
Oh, darlings, how wonderful to see the both of you. Delphina here. Delphina, darling, it's Tiffany. Rise and shine.
Tiffany, no, Delphina's not here. Mary is, though, and she's in the back. How are you, Tiffany?
Oh, well, actually, I'm ready and raring to go, darling. I am having dinner next week in Manhattan with my adorable Senator Drake, and I have to look ravishing. How are you, Holly?
Oh, I'm fine.
Really? You look rather tired.
No, I'm fine. And, how are you?
Me? I haven't stopped to draw a breath since my first date in 5th grade. Was that 6th grade? Oh, well, it doesn't really matter, does it?
Still, it must be hard work having a roommate. How is that going?
Holly, darling, we're friends. Why don't you just come right in and ask me what it is you really want to know?
I was just asking a polite question.
Well, I'll answer it. Luke is terrible.
Why do you say that?
Because it's true. And obviously, looking at you, you're not any better. I mean, you've got rings under your eyes.
Why is Luke terrible?
Well, he just is. And if you ask me, you're both silly about the whole thing.
You mean me?
I mean the both of you. You're keeping away from each other. You're just sitting around agonizing all on your own, and I think it's absolutely ridiculous.
Well, what do you suggest we do?
What any two intelligent adults would do, you sit down quietly, face to face, and talk it out.
That's so easy to say, Tiffany.
No, Holly, it is not that easy to say, but I say it because I love both of you. You and Luke are not doing yourselves any good.
Oh, I know that.
Well, I hope you know something else also.
What?
You're not doing Robert any good either.
Right, my next point is all too clear, so I won't bother expanding upon it. It's been proven since time immemorial that gambling attracts a criminal element. You establish a licensed casino on the waterfront, you will invite that element. Also, you will open the doors for that element into Port Charles.
Commissioner, you yourself have indicated you've made great progress in ridding the waterfront of the criminal element.
That's very true. As a matter of fact, we've cleaned up the worst of it. As you're all well aware, Augie and Anthony Hand are now dead, and the power of the New York mobs has been broken. In short, the waterfront is clean, and I would like it to stay that way.
Mr. Commissioner, I note that Scott Baldwin is allied with you in your opposition to the gambling license.
Yeah, that's right.
Yet, if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Baldwin, you yourself had ties to Hand as well as to Augie.
Well, I did, but that was in the past.
And didn't you yourself originally interest Mr. Brock in the waterfront development?
I did.
If I might address this myself. Mr. Brock here came to us with impeccable credentials from Senator Drake. And I endorsed his participation in wishing to establish a first-class restaurant here. I still do. But I take considerable exception to his desire to establish and legalize gambling.
Do you have anything to say in rebuttal to Mr. Spencer's assurances that the city would derive considerable tax revenue from the casino?
I certainly do. Mr. Spencer's assertion that certain tax monies would be derived is absolutely correct. But his assertion that that money would be spent for the poor, the needy, or anybody else is incorrect.
Why?
Because Mr. Spencer knows, as do I, that any money that the casino brings in will be used to fight the criminal element that it also brings in. Look, I assure you members of the committee, the truth here is all too painfully clear. Gambling leads to crime. Don't open the doors.
Thank you, Commissioner. Now that we have heard both sides, I think the committee will go into executive session and take a vote.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Brock?
we have one more person to speak on behalf of the casino.
You and Mr. Spencer have both had ample opportunity, and I see no one else here.
If I may. Our speaker is Mrs. Steve Hardy.
I believe we all know Mrs. Hardy, and while her appearance before this committee was not on the agenda, I'm sure we're all eager to hear what she has to say.
Well, thank you, John.
Mrs. Hardy?
I don't know. Some of you may know that I'm serving as president of the Historical Landmark Society of Port Charles, and so I am here in that capacity today. First of all, I would like to state that I share your determination to preserve the Greenwood House because of its historical significance to this community. I have with me the original plans of the Greenwood House. Luke, maybe you could explain them, would you?
Certainly, Mrs. Hardy. To summarize, these plans will prove that in its original form, the Greenwood House in the 1890s was a celebrated and very famous gambling casino, which means, in order to restore it to its original form, it must contain a casino. Now, I must, in all honesty, tell the committee that originally Mrs. Hardy had some reservations about the gambling casino, but I believe that she has changed her mind. Is that correct?
Yes, it certainly is.
Why, Mrs. Hardy?
Well, I'll tell you, Mr. Brock explained the sizable revenues this city could receive from taxing a gambling casino, and Luke has shown me some very impressive figures about some other cities.
Well, what kind of figures?
Luke?
Certainly. We have here information regarding areas of the country where gambling is permitted. Revenues that go directly to the cities of Las Vegas, Reno, Lake Tahoe, Atlantic City, Miami, where tax income from races and other sporting events goes directly to the city, and others, approximately 50 communities where gambling is permitted.
And they all receive monies from gambling.
That is putting it mildly, sir.
May I add one more thing?
Go right ahead.
First of all, I think this committee should know that Mr. Brock has spent quite a bit of time with the Historical Society, and he has assured us that the gambling at the Greenwood House would be under the strictest control. Now, that was a very persuasive factor in our vote.
The Landmark Society has taken a vote on this matter?
We have indeed. We have voted unanimously to grant Mr. Brock the permit for the gambling, and I am here on record to urge you all to do the same.
You voted unanimously because you're satisfied that the control will be what it should be.
That was one reason, yes.
If I may summarize, not only was Mrs. Hardy and her committee satisfied that there would be strict controls, but they were also quite impressed with the fact that revenue for the city of Port Charles could be generated to a great degree by taxes from a gambling casino.
That was very persuasive to us.
And may I remind you once again that we're only asking for a permit for the duration of the exposition. At the end of that time, we suggest that it's put on the ballot, allow the people to vote.
Well, thank you, Luke. Is there anything else?
I think we've argued our situation rather adequately.
I quite agree.
Thank you.
Mr. Commissioner, do you have anything further to say?
I've already stated my position. Strict controls or not, gambling attracts a criminal element. It mustn't happen here in Port Charles.
Well, thank you, Commissioner, very much. Now, if there's nothing further, this committee will retire into executive session. We will consider both sides of the argument, and we will let you know of our decision. This special committee of the City Council will resume the deliberations in my office. And thank you, everyone, for presenting us with your views.
I hope you can appreciate my concern. I never thought you'd go for a gambling casino. Now that you have, I've got to oppose it.
If we do get our license, I think you're going to change your mind.
I can't conceive of that.
Well, I can. Say we're operating, and those tax dollars start coming in. They're going to beef up your budget for your police department, right?
Yeah, I'll believe that when I see it.
Well, if you do see it beefed up, will you still be against gambling?
Absolutely. I opposed your petition. If you get a license, which I doubt, we're still going to be on opposite sides.
Oh, we're going to get our answer right now.
Thank you very much for waiting, and I won't prolong the committee's response. We've considered very carefully both sides of this question and have reached a decision. The committee has voted to grant Mr. Brock and Mr. Spencer permit for gambling. Such permit to be in effect until the November elections. At that time, the measure will be put on the ballot in the form of a referendum, and the voters of Port Charles will make the final decision.
All right. Commissioner.
I think you should try the purple on first. That tells me very deceitful.
Well, before I try on anything at all, I want to call Grant.
Oh, I hope you're not going to tell him how much you spent.
Oh, perish the thought. No, I just want to call him and tell him how wonderful he is.
Over the phone?
I would tell him in skywriting if I had an airplane.
Are you sure you wouldn't like us to croon softly in the background whilst you're talking to him?
No, that's exactly what I'm afraid of. So I think I will go downstairs and use that phone. Excuse me.
Okay. Holly, are you all right?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Darling, you're talking to Tiffany. You look absolutely exhausted.
Well, maybe the shopping did tire me out a little bit.
I'd say more than a little bit, and I don't think the shopping has anything to do with it. Come on, you can tell me. These are very rough times for you, I know, aren't they?
Frankly, it's all I can do to get through the day. Tiffany.
Yes.
Is Luke really all right? You haven't said very much.
Well, neither has he. He's not being very open these days, I'm afraid.
But is he okay? Does he seem to be suffering, or is he angry?
Wouldn't it be better if you asked him that yourself? You must want to see him.
I'm not sure. I don't even know if he would.
I think he would. Just approached him in the right way.
I have no idea what the right way would be, and even if we did talk, I'm not sure it would help. To be quite honest, I feel like I'm in some kind of a limbo halfway between heaven and hell.
Oh, that man is divine. Simply divine.
Yes, so you've said.
Yeah, often.
Oh, Holly, I didn't know you had a music box. I simply adore them. I had a whole collection of them. Oh, this one's so pretty.
Could you put it down?
What?
I said, please put it down. I don't want to see that. I don't want to hear it, ever.
I'm sorry, Holly. I didn't realize it was special.
Oh, it's nothing but memories. In fact, you could just take it out of here. Get it out of here.
You don't mean that.
Yes, I do. I hate it. I don't want to see it.
Well, maybe this very moment, believe me, there'll come a day when you will absolutely treasure this.
Never.
Yes, it will. And in the meantime, I'll just take it myself. That way I'll be ready when you are. And Holly, that day can come anytime.
Oh, Robert, I'm sorry.
You've heard already.
I can tell by your expression they're going to allow gambling.
The decision against me was unanimous.
Well, again, I'm sorry. But if it's any help, you may have lost the first battle, but you haven't lost the war.
How do you figure that?
Well, it's the truth. You've served Brock notice that if there is going to be gambling, it better be a good, clean operation.
And I intend to make sure of it.
Yeah, I'm sure you will. And what's more important, Brock knows that, so there's one plus for you.
As soon as that casino opens, I'll have my best people watching every bloody move they make.
Yeah. And Brock knows that, so you haven't really lost.
You know, sometimes I forget how good you are for me.
I'm just pointing out what's true.
No. No, you do more than that. You make me realize that nothing can be that bad if I have you here to share it with. This isn't the right time to be saying this, but there isn't an hour or a minute or a day when I don't hope you're here to stay. Hello.
Hello?
Holly,
Luke?
I want to see you.
You do?
I want to see you.
When?
Anytime. How about tomorrow?
When tomorrow?
Whenever you say. I will call you back, all right?
All right.
Tomorrow.